All right, today we have UFC Vegas 69 Andrade versus Blanchfield preview, predictions, and analysis. Originally, it was set to be a main event between Taila Santos, the woman who arguably beat Valentina Shevchenko, going up against the number 10 ranked Aaron Cold-Blooded Blanchfield, who comes in with a record of 10 victories and 1 defeat. However, Santos is injured and had to withdraw from the fight, so on short notice, she gets the number 6 ranked Jessica Bate-Estaca Andrade, who comes in with a record of 24-9 and has been pretty active across the strawweight and flyweight divisions. Former UFC bantamweight as well, however, not so much success over in the bantamweight division. So number 6, Jessica Andrade, coming off of 2 back-to-back victories, that first round arm triangle choke standing against Amanda Lemos, who just TKO'd Marina Rodriguez, and then more recently that beatdown at UFC 283 over Lucky Lauren Murphy. Can Andrade make it 3 in a row, or will Blanchfield continue her undefeated streak in the UFC and move ever so closely to the title shot at 125 pounds? Oh, man. This is a great card. Or I'm not going to say it's a great card. This is a decent card, but the thing is, there's not a lot of name value. Like, it's not going to be the best. There's no big fight on this card where you're like, I have to watch that. But there's a lot of prospects on this card. It's kind of the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series sampler, in my opinion. And then we have a debuting fighter, or a UFC debuting fighter, in the undefeated Hussein Askabov, who comes in with an undefeated professional record of 23-0. He goes up against Jamal Pretty Boy Emmers, who comes in at 18-6. Clayton Carpenter off the Contender Series at 6-0, coming in against Juan Camilo Ronderos, who comes in with a record of 4-1. His loss coming in the UFC to the hands of David the Undertaker Dvorak. And then you've got Nazim Black Wolf Sadikov, who comes in with a record of 7-1, going up against Evan the Phenom Elder, who comes back with an identical record of 7-1. So Sadikov and Clayton Carpenter both come off the Contender Series. So, yeah, this is a really it's a decent card. I keep wanting to say this is a really great card because I feel like I say that a lot when it comes to these breakdowns. But it's a decent card. And, I was going to talk about UFC 284 on this podcast. However, if you go over to my YouTube channel, I actually have a breakdown on the main event of how I scored the main event between Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev. Spoiler, I did score the fight for Alexander Volkanovski 3-2. You can go and watch the breakdown on my YouTube channel, the same name as the podcast, at Touch 'Em Up Podcast, and check that video out and let me know what you think. And then, obviously, after this card, these predictions will be uploaded to the YouTube channel as well, and then we will follow up with the next fight night, and then I'll probably do a hype video style of breakdown for Jones versus Gane and a couple of the other fights on UFC 285. Really solid card there, and that's probably going to be what the bulk of the YouTube content is going to be. But yeah, let's get into the card. So we're going to start in the prelims, or on the prelims in the UFC flyweight division. You have the undefeated Clayton Carpenter, who comes in with a record of 6 victories and no defeats, going up against Juan Camilo Ronderos, who comes in with a record of 4 victories and 1 defeat. This is a pretty good fight. I think that this, to open up the card, I feel like it should be a little bit further up the card. I don't think this should be the card opener in terms of prelims, but it's a decent fight. Clayton Carpenter is a very solid prospect. The only thing that I don't like is that he kind of overcommits on his shots and kind of has that jock mentality to him. And what I mean by that is when he either gets hit or gets hurt, he kind of comes forward and throws big bombs. Now, he's still technical in the way that he approaches the game. He's got some very good lateral movement, good in and out movement, and he's got good slip counters as well, but sometimes those are overshadowed by just his aggressiveness on the feet. He's very aggressive with his striking. He throws very heavy power shots. His kicks are a little bit more technical. I feel like he sets up his kicking game a lot sharper than he sets up his boxing, and that's something that you're going to have to look out for in this fight. Now, Juan Camilo Ronderos, 4-1. He has a pretty decent jiu-jitsu game. A lot of his wins have come by way of submission. He's got 2 wins by submission and 2 by decision. No knockouts on his record. His only loss actually came via submission to David Dvorak. That was at May of 2021, UFC Fight Night Font versus Garbrandt. He got caught with a rear naked choke, but before that, he was getting kind of touched up on the feet. But early, he showed that he has decent striking. His right hook is good, jab, right hook, straight left hand. He puts good 3-punch combinations together, and he's pretty technical. And also, he stepped into this fight on like 12 hours notice, up a weight class, I believe. Was he up a weight class? No, not up a weight class, but he stepped in on short notice, missed weight, and then, yeah, like on 12 hours notice. So you can't really take too much stock in this, and David Dvorak is not an easy guy to defeat. I mean, he lost to Manel Kopp recently, but Manel Kopp's one of the best guys in that flyweight division. I feel like it's just people aren't super high on him yet, but they're going to be the longer he goes. I mean, that flying knee knockout over Ode Osborne, and then that TKO over David Dvorak. Prior to that, he had a win over Eric Shelton via split decision. Eric was kind of a decent prospect when he started in the UFC, and after that, he kind of just fell off and never really got his footing under him. He had a bulldog choke submission against Matthew Elliott, a rear naked choke submission over Eric Ramirez, a unanimous decision over Thomas Martin, and then I believe one more win. Or no, that's it for his pro career. So he was 4-0, and then he lost to David Dvorak, but a rear naked choke and a bulldog choke. I think on the amateurs, he got some other, chokes and submissions as well. He's pretty good when it comes to the ground game, but he has decent striking too. So I feel like in this fight, he's going to try to keep it on the feet, not really look to engage in the grappling, because Caleb Carpenter has good takedowns. He's good from the top position, really solid from the half guard. He has very good transitions. Sometimes he can get a little over aggressive with that as well, but I would say he's a better grappler than he is a striker, but he likes to entertain the stand-up game more than he does his grappling. But if he has to resort to his grappling like he did on the Contender Series, then he can do it. He's a well-rounded guy. He's really early on in his career. I mean, I believe he's only like 23, 24, somewhere around there. Let's see. He is 26. Okay, I was wrong. So he's 26 years old, 6-0, 2 submissions, 2 KO, TKOs, and 2 decisions. So the trifecta of winning methods, he's touched all of them. Never lost in his pro career either. The win came on the Contender Series against Edgar Chairez, who's actually a training partner of Brandon Moreno, the current UFC flyweight champion. And Chairez did a very good job in that fight, to the point where I almost thought Chairez could have edged out that decision. But the grappling, the top control, the top pressure, and everything like that throughout the remainder of the fight really scored that fight for Clayton Carpenter. The takedowns and the grappling towards the end of the second round, and more of the same in the third. The thing I like about Clayton Carpenter is I really like the way he sets up his rear low kick. He's very heavy on the rear low kicks. He's got a very good check left hook and a left hook in general. So I expect him to try to go with the left hook over the lead right hook of his opponent. I think he's going to look to jab, throw the lead hook on the same side, and then try to use that to move laterally, cut his angles, and move in and out. But sometimes he can get too aggressive. I think if he gets too aggressive against his opponent in Juan Camilo Ronderos, I mean, he's got quick hands. He's got good striking, especially with the boxing, more boxing than kicking. I feel like Caleb's a better kicker, and Ronderos may be a better boxer because he's a little bit more technical and sharp with the way he throws his punches. So I think that we're going to see Caleb resort to more of a kick-heavy game, try to keep the range, throw long shots, good straight punches, the check left hook to get the outside foot on the southpaw, and then the right hand into the same side right low kick, the feint right hand into the lead left high kick. He's very good at all of those weapons, and I think we're going to see him use the kicking game and resort to his grappling and not stay so much in terms of the boxing game. I think he's going to entertain more of a long-range striking game and then close the distance with the takedowns and the grappling. Overall, in the fight, I'm going to go with Clayton Carpenter. I think his grappling can showcase in this fight. Even though his opponent has good submissions, I think we're going to see him use his wrestling, and he's good on top with the top pressure, so I don't think he'll get caught in a submission. I think we're going to see a lot of low kicks, especially to the inside of the lead leg of the southpaw. He's going to feint the right hand, come with the low kick on the same side, feint the right hand, throw the left high kick, jab, left hook, jab, check left hook to the outside of the southpaw right hook, and constantly be moving on the angles. I think eventually he's going to get the takedown, work the ground and pound, and I think he's actually going to submit Juan Camilo Ronderos. So my pick is going to be Clayton Carpenter to defeat Juan Camilo Ronderos via a second round. I'm going to go with a... Ooh, do I want to go rear naked choke? I feel like that's such a cliche submission. I'm going to go with the arm triangle. We're going to switch it up a little bit. So second round arm triangle choke submission for Clayton Carpenter. I could see him grounding and pounding his opponent in Juan Camilo Ronderos. I could see him catching him with a big shot on the feet, especially that lead left high kick. That's going to be a big weapon against the southpaw. I think he's going to use that a lot, especially when he tries to maintain that range and distance. But I'm going to go with the submission win. So Clayton Carpenter inside the distance. via second round arm triangle choke submission. When it comes to betting, I like Clayton Carpenter as a parlay piece on the money line, but it's such a high money line. I think he's like minus 280, minus 290. I think it might be a little bit better to play the under 2.5 rounds at minus 180 because I do think this fight doesn't go the distance. I know I feel like I felt that way on the Contender Series, and he went to decision, and it was a very close fight, but I don't think that Juan Camilo Ronderos is at the same level of the opponent that he faced on the Contender Series in Chirez. I think it's going to be a little bit easier of an out for Carpenter here, and I expect him to get his first UFC win inside the octagon this weekend. Clayton Carpenter, second round arm triangle choke submission. Clayton Carpenter as a parlay piece on the money line and an under 2.5 rounds if you're feeling a little bit froggy. All right, the next fight up is going to be a battle in the featherweight division between Jamal Pretty Boy Emmers, who comes into the fight with the record of 18 victories and 6 losses, going up against a really highly touted prospect coming into the UFC and somebody that a lot of fighters are keeping their eyes on, a lot of fans are talking about, in the undefeated Hussein Lion Askabov, or Hussein Lion Askabov, who comes back with a record of 23-0 as an undefeated professional mixed martial artist. Pretty Boy Emmers or Lion Askabov, who will get their hand raised in this fight? So, Jamal Emmers is actually a lot better than I thought when I went to look at the tape. I figured, like, he's got a lot of losses in the UFC. He hasn't done the best. You know, his record isn't the greatest. He's really kind of shit the bed. But you go back and watch his fights, man, and Emmers is actually a very technical fighter on the feet. His boxing is very, very solid. He's got good front kicks up the middle, teep kicks to the body, good low kicks, really good ability to use his range and distance to, you know, maintain it throughout the fight. A lot of fighters who are long, tall, and rangy, sometimes they have the weapons and the tools at their disposal. However, they're not able to use them. And the one thing that Jamal Emmers can do is use his reach, use his range, get full extension on his punches, the low kicks, the front kicks to the body. He likes to use a lateral movement. Like, this guy is always on his bicycle. Even against Giga Chikadze. That fight against Giga Chikadze, it was so close to the point where I thought Jamal Emmers could have won that fight via decision. I mean, it was so close. He got the takedown, the counter takedowns off the pressure of Chikadze, landed really good straight right hands, good jabs, good front kicks to the body. The 1-2s were working very well. The left body kick from Giga was very, very solid. The switch kick to the body from Giga was really good as well. Jamal Emmers actually landed a good kick to the body, which hurt Giga Chikadze in that fight and caused him to back up. But it's the long, rangy boxing of Jamal Emmers, and he has power in short ranges as well. If you look at the fight against Pat Sabatini, I mean, he caught Sabatini in such an awkward position and rocked him, which allowed him to get the top position and get to full mount and almost ground and pound him out of there. I feel like if Jamal Emmers would have just went fully on the ground and pound and not tried to attack the submission, judging off Pat Sabatini's loss to Damon Jackson, I feel like if he really, really went for it, he could have got Pat Sabatini out of there. And obviously, he tried to play the submission game against the slick jiu-jitsu black belt and Pat Sabatini and paid for it. He went for a toe hold and lost the battle of toe hold versus heel hook as Pat Sabatini got the submission. Lost the razor-thin decision to Giga Chikadze in a fight where I think he arguably could have won that fight. But we go to the rest of his record. I'll pull it up right quick. Let's see. I'm going to see if this will load for me because this SureDog site is really, really slow sometimes. So Jamal Pretty Boy Emmers lost to Pat Sabatini, lost to Giga Chikadze. He beat Vince Cachero via unanimous decision, or Vince Cachero. That was at UFC Fight Night 173 back in August of 2020. The last time we saw Jamal Emmers inside the octagon was August of 2021. So it's been almost 2 years, a year and a half since we've seen Jamal Emmers inside the cage. He obviously, when he got caught in that heel hook, he tore his knee apart, so he had to rehab that, probably a torn ACL, MCL, and all that. And then he lost to Giga Chikadze via split decision, and that was a fight, like I said, that I think Jamal Emmers should have won. Prior to that, a win over Rafael Barbosa. That was at LFA 81. He lost via an arm triangle, or he won via arm triangle choke, I'm sorry. Before that, Jay Cusaniello, he won via first round TKO. Prior to that, a TKO in the first round over Chao Machado. Prior to that, a second round TKO over Fard Muhammad. Prior to that, a loss to Julian Erosa via head kick and punches. That was on the Dana White Contender Series back in June of 2018. So fought some decent competition. I mean, Julian Erosa, he had a unanimous decision victory over Corey Sandhagen actually at LFA 5 back in February of 2017. He lost via TKO to Thiago Moises. But the guy has fought a lot of heavy heavy competition in his career, but in the UFC, the competition hasn't been the best aside from Sabatini and Giga. But, I mean, before he got to the UFC, Julian Erosa, Thiago Moises, a win over Corey Sandhagen. I mean, if you really look at the guy's record, he's pretty decent overall in terms of a competition level. In 18-6, he's got 10 finishes and 8 decisions, so, pretty close, but 7 wins by KO, TKO, using that long reach, using the long range, the range weapons, the 1-2, the jab crosses down the middle, the left hook, I mean, the front kicks to the body, the teep kicks, using the lateral movement, cutting angles, triangle stepping, shifting, angling off. Jamal Emmers is going to use his reach and range in this fight and try to keep his opponent in Hussein Askabov off of him. The thing with Hussein Askabov is, though, man, this guy has very solid grappling. Some of his best takedowns actually come from the knee tap position, so that's something I think we're going to have to look out for, especially against a long, rangy fighter in Emmers. Look for him to catch those front kicks, catch those teep kicks, transition to head on the outside, transition to the knee tap takedown. If he spins for like a spinning wheel kick, expect for Askabov to take his back, try to take him down, use his wrestling, get in the top position. He's got really solid ground and pound, good work from the mount, good work from side control. Doesn't really give his opponent a lot of space, but he's got good submissions as well, arm bars, rear naked chokes, I believe. Let's see, we'll check it out. I mean, undefeated at 23-0. But overall, out of all his wins, I'm sorry, this website again is super slow. He's got 7 wins by decision and 16 wins coming by way of finish. So 16 out of 23 victories come by way of finish. 10 submissions and 6 KO TKOs. 43% of the wins coming by way of submission. And then 69% of his wins coming by way of finish overall at UFC Vegas 69. One of Chechnya's up-and-coming fighters, man. This guy's very solid. I mean, a knockout via flying knee, an anaconda choke submission, a guillotine choke submission, a heel hook submission, unanimous decision, a TKO, heel hook, armbar, flying knee KO, rear naked choke, decisions, armbar, 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 armbar. I mean, the guy's going to, if he gets Jamal Emmers' arm, it's going to be a wrap. And I think that Jamal Emmers is going to have the wrestling advantage, but I think the scrambling ability and the ability to, once it hits the mat, goes to Askabov. I think he has better overall grappling. I think we'll see Jamal Emmers use his wrestling defensively, but I think if he uses those takedowns offensively, he might be in for a world of hurt against Askabov, because if he shoots a bad takedown, Askabov can take his neck in a guillotine. If he goes for something and it's at the wrong position, if he leaves his arm out there, Askabov can lock up an armbar. He can grab him in a triangle choke. He could take his back. I think the overall scrambling and grappling ability would go to Askabov. I think the striking on the feet in terms of the boxing would go to Jamal Emmers. But I think in terms of the kicking game, that goes to Askabov as well. I mean, this guy can throw everything. Front kicks, round kicks, front leg side kicks, rear leg side kicks, hook kicks, wheel kicks, spinning wheel kicks. I mean, he can chamber kicks together too. Round kick, side kick to the body, spinning wheel kick, spinning hook kick. I mean, he can put it all together. He can mix his striking, I'm bicycling. He can mix his striking together very well. He can mix his grappling together extremely well. Now, competition level, I feel like the bigger competition has obviously been on the side of Jamal Emmers, the better competition, the tougher competition. But we can't really say much about Hussein Askabov because we don't know. I mean, this is his first fight in the UFC. We've seen guys in the UFC come into the UFC with undefeated records, and they haven't lasted very long in terms of their promotional success. I think Askabov is going to be a little bit of a different story, though. I like this guy. I think he's overall the more well-rounded fighter. He's got more weapons and more dexterity when it comes to the striking game on the feet. Like I said, the front kicks, the round kicks, the spinning wheel kicks, flying knees. I mean, even if he misses a flying knee and Emmers gets a takedown, I think the scrambling ability of Askabov is going to be able to allow him to wind up in a top position. And Emmers is no joke, man. This is not like a walk in the park. I don't want you guys to think like Askabov's just going to run through him and destroy him. But I think he has the ability to make this fight look very easy in terms of how it plays out at UFC Vegas 69. I think if Emmers can keep the range and distance and use his lateral movement, he can keep Askabov away. But the thing is, Askabov is going to be the better kicker. So even if he keeps that range and distance, the long-range weapons of Askabov are going to work very well for him. The side kick, the leaping side kick to the body, the spinning back kick, the hook kicks to the head, the round kicks, the wheel kicks. I mean, and mixing together different kicks, front kick to a round kick to a spinning back kick to a wheel kick to a round kick again. really good low kicks against the long, tall, rangy Emmers. I think the kicking game of Oskabov is going to be too much, and he has good boxing as well. Emmers is probably the more well-rounded fighter when it comes to the counter game with the boxing, but I mean, he has a really solid left hook, does Oskabov. I mean, that's what he landed before he landed that spinning back kick to the body on his opponent and got a TKO. I mean, he's got such heavy power. He's such a dangerous striker. I think Emmers is live here. I don't think it's like a walk in the park. Like I said, I don't think that Hussein Oskabov is going to whitewash Jamal Emmers and just beat him from pillar to post, but I do like Oskabov to get the job done inside the distance. And at a minus 125 on the money line, I expect the money line to jump up closer to minus 200 as the week goes on, but I could see it capping at like minus 160, minus 175, because I think some people are going to put money on Emmers because of his experience level, because of his really close fight with Giga Chikadze, who's one of the best strikers in the UFC. But obviously he's gotten exposed, especially against Kelvin Cater. And man, this is close, but I think Hussein Oskabov is going to be able to get it done inside the distance. I think the wheel kicks, the dexterity, the variety in the striking game, paired with his ability to get into scrambles, the knee tap takedowns, getting takedowns off of bad shots of the opponents. I think he'll be able to stuff some of the takedowns of Emmers. I think Emmers might get one or two, but I think even if Emmers gets the takedowns, like I said, the scrambling of Hussein Oskabov, he's going to wind up on top. Jamal Emmers is going to give something up. And I actually think we're going to get a TKO. I could see a submission finish because Hussein Oskabov has, 10 submissions on his record out of 23 wins? Yeah, so he's got 10 submissions, but I think we're going to actually see a TKO. I think it's going to be a ground and pound TKO. I think he's going to hurt him to the body on the feet with the spinning back kick, the front kick. He's going to hurt him. Emmers is going to take a bad shot. Oskabov's going to jump on him and get him out of there in the second round. So my pick is going to be the UFC newcomer and the undefeated Hussein Lion Oskabov to improve to 24-0 as a professional mixed martial artist with his undefeated record and defeat Jamal Pretty Boy Emmers via second round TKO. All right, up next is going to be a battle in the lightweight division between Contender Series alum Nazim Black Wolf Sadikov, who comes in with a record of 7-1, going up against Evan the Phenom Elder, who comes back with an identical record of 7 victories with only 1 defeat. Nazim Sadikov actually trains with Ray Longo out at Team Sarah Longo with Matt Favola. My God, why am I forgetting his name? The UFC Bantamweight Champion in Aljamain Sterling, formerly Ally Quinta, and the list goes on and on and on. Black Wolf had a good fight on the Contender Series, and he showcased really solid boxing ability. His kicking game is very good as well, but when it comes to his bread and butter, it's his hands, it's his combinations, it's his swiftness in his combinations, his ability to slip off center line and work to the body, work up top with hooks to the head. This guy has big power and really good technique when it comes to his boxing ability. Earlier, we talked about a fighter in Clayton Carpenter who has decent boxing, but his bread and butter is in his kicks. It's kind of the same thing with Hussein Oskabov, but Oskabov has better boxing. Nazim Sadikov has really solid boxing technique. You look at his overall record, 7-1. Out of those 7 victories, he's got 5 wins by KO, TKO, 1 submission, and 1 decision. So 6 out of 7 wins come by way of finish. His 1 loss came by way of submission. On the Contender Series, he defeated Ahmad Suhal Hazanzada. Ahmad Hazanzada via KO in the 3rd round. It was a close fight, and Hazanzada actually used very good wrestling, grappling, getting him up against the cage, constantly shooting takedowns. He had very good striking ability as well, trying to keep the range, use his long, rangy boxing to try to keep his opponent away from him. He tried to keep Sadikov away from him, keep him at range, keep him at a distance. But once Nazim closed the distance and cut him off and got him up against the cage, right hook to the body, right hook up top, straight left hand, slip up the center line, straight left, right hook, right uppercut. He could switch back to orthodox. The guy has very crisp boxing combinations. He has good grappling as well. But I feel like in this fight, if there's one area where he might get tested, it's going to be in the grappling. It's going to be in the scrambling. You look at Evan Elder. We only saw him one time in the UFC against Preston Parsons. He lost that via pretty convincing unanimous decision. But the one thing is he kept getting taken down. He kept getting mounted. He got put in an arm triangle choke that was basically 98% finished multiple times in the fight. That shows his fight IQ isn't the best, but the one thing that Evan Elder has is heart. He has the heart to continue to push forward. He has the heart to continue to, try to win a fight, even if he's down. I mean, he was easily down, 2 rounds going into that 3rd round, and he still tried to win the fight. Thing about Evan Elder, he's got big power. His lateral movement, his in and out movement is pretty good as well. Like, I feel like he's decently light on the feet, but at some points he can get a little clunky if he gets caught in an awkward position. And then you look at his best weapons, it's definitely the lead high kick. That's something that we also talked about with Clayton Carpenter earlier on the card. He has a very solid lead left kick to the body and a lead left kick to the head. He's actually gotten a few knockouts in his MMA career with that lead high kick to the head. So I would expect him to try to set that up against Sadikov. But I'm sure training out at Serra-Longo, that he's going to have the ability to, combat that. And the boxing ability, the technique, the technical striking, that's so far on the side of Nazim Sadikov. The only way Evan Elder is going to win this fight is by pushing Sadikov up against the cage, striking off the break with big power, because Evan Elder does have power, but he's going to have to build up the lactic acid in the muscles of Sadikov. He's going to have to take him down. He's going to have to get in the top position. He's going to have to try to out-scramble him, outwork him, and use his wrestling over the 15 minutes to get the nod on the judges' scorecards or potentially lock up a submission late in the fight. Have midway point of the 2nd round into the 3rd round. That's the only way he's going to be able to get this done. He's going to have to look to lock up a finish later in the fight by tiring out Sadikov with the wrestling. But the thing is, closing the distance on a guy like Sadikov, his name's the Black Wolf, and I feel like he's going to howl at the moon as he stands over the body of Evan Elder during this fight. I'm going to be honest. I think the boxing, the power he possesses, the swiftness in his hands, his ability to slip his head off the center line and counter, his counter game, with the wide, not so much wide kicks of Evan Elder, but with the telegraph shots that Evan Elder throws on the feet, and his stance switches, I feel like eventually he's just going to run into a big bomb from Sadikov, get caught, get clipped, and get finished. Now, the one thing is, he's not going to make Evan Elder quit. I don't think he's going to make him quit, because we've seen, the guy, like I said, been caught in an arm triangle multiple times in his fight in the UFC against Preston Parsons and still didn't give up. But there's a difference between being caught in a submission and choosing not to give up and getting chin checked, knocked out, and having no choice but to go unconscious. And I feel like Nazim Sadikov's going to take the choice out of Evan Elder's hands in this fight, catch him on the chin, and put him away. I think that the boxing is too much. I think that the defense of Evan Elder, it leaves much to be desired, and I think Sadikov's better with the defense, especially with setting up his counters off the slips, off the movement, setting up the counters that are right to the opponent shots that he throws. Slipping off the center of the jab of his opponent, right hook to the body, boom, right hook up top. He's got really solid boxing, man, and I think that's going to shine here. He can get out grappled later in the fight, like I said, but I think he's going to catch Evan Elder on the chin and put him away. So my pick is going to be Nazim, the Black Wolf Sadikov, to defeat Evan Elder via a 1st round knockout victory. I know he's durable. I know he's good. I know he's not going to quit on himself. But like I said, man, if he gets caught with a big shot from Sadikov, I think he's going to put him away. So Nazim, Black Wolf Sadikov to defeat Evan Elder via a 1st round TKO victory. All right, and now we move to the main event of the evening in the women's UFC flyweight division, with a battle between the former strawweight champion, the former flyweight title challenger, and the number 6 ranked flyweight Jessica Bate Estaca Andrade, who comes into the fight with a record of 24 victories and 9 defeats, going up against the number 10 ranked Erin Cold-Blooded Blanchfield, undefeated in the UFC with an overall record of 10 victories and 1 defeat. Actually, she is undefeated in the UFC, right? I'm not crazy with that, am I? Let's see. If this would load. I swear, man, sometimes the UFC website, yeah, it's just not going to work for me, is it? I was going to break down like the stats and everything, but I guess that's just not going to work today. Let's go over to the main event. Erin Blanchfield. Look at her first. Cold-blooded. 10-1 overall, 3 wins by submission, 2 by KO, TKO, and 5 by decision. Only loss coming by way of decision. Her last loss was in Invicta, at Invicta FC 34 against Tracy Cortez, the former Mrs. Ortega, who she lost via split decision. Since then, she's gone on a win streak of 7 fights in a row. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 7 fights in a row with wins over Gabriella Golfin, Victoria Leonardo, Brogan Walker, who was a highly touted prospect on that season of The Ultimate Fighter, made it to the finale and then lost to, I can't think of her name. I'm really excited to see her next fight in the UFC. I don't know. Let me see. I got to look now because I'm forgetting her name. Juliana Miller. That's it. Juliana Killer Miller. But we'll go back. She lost oh my God, I'm talking too fast. She defeated Sarah Alpar via unanimous decision. Defeated Miranda Maverick via unanimous decision at UFC 269. Defeated JJ Aldrich in the second round via guillotine choke submission, and then submitted Molly McCann at UFC 281 in Madison Square Garden via a first round Kimura. But she had her in the crucifix position, was grounding and pounding her. Not super heavy shots, but just over and over, and then eventually locked up that Kimura as Molly McCann tried to work her way out of the crucifix, wrapped it all the way around her back, and got her out of there before she was going to break Molly McCann's arm. With JJ Aldrich, she looked good. She did get hit a little bit on the feet, but I don't think that Erin Blanchfield's striking is that bad. I think that's something we have to look at. Like, she switches stances pretty well. She moves between southpaw and orthodox. She throws her jab out there. She likes to switch off the jab from orthodox to southpaw, and she actually uses that stance switch to set up a left knee as she switches from orthodox to southpaw. So she'll stand there, 1, 2, switch off the jab to southpaw, and then boom, land that left knee to the body or to the head if the opponent shoots a takedown. She's pretty clean and crisp on the feet. It's just her defense isn't the best. She doesn't have that great of head movement. She has good movement with her feet, but her head kind of stays on the center line. And against the power puncher in Jessica Andrade, that's definitely something you don't want, because if you leave your head on the center line against Andrade, Andrade is going to slip and counter. Andrade is going to come forward with 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. I mean, you saw her basically beat the life out of Lauren Murphy, where the corner should have stopped the fight, but they didn't. Actually cost me a couple parlays that night. I was pretty pissed off about that because I had Andrade inside the distance and Andrade via TKO. I think I had fight doesn't go to decision and Andrade via KO, TKO, or submission. And obviously, it went to decision. The ref didn't stop the fight. The corner didn't stop the fight. Should have stopped the fight because, I mean, Lauren Murphy really got no offense there. But I think that on the ground, Erin Blanchfield is going to have a big advantage against Jessica Andrade, but it's the fact of, can she get her to the ground? If she gets her to the ground, you know, Andrade got submitted at 135 pounds by Raquel Pennington. She got grounded and pounded from the crucifix position against Valentina Shevchenko at 125 pounds. Coincidentally, Erin Blanchfield is very solid from that same crucifix position. So on the ground, I think that Blanchfield is a big problem for Andrade, but it's the fact of, can she get her to the ground without eating a barrage of punches? Now, Andrade isn't the most technical. She does overthrow some of her shots. She does throw big bombs sometimes, and that can leave her open to her getting her hips, you know, sucked out from underneath her, getting body locked, getting taken down. I mean, that can leave her to get taken down in the bum rush, so to speak. I mean, she got taken down a few times by Rose Namajunas, and especially with that stance switch from orthodox to southpaw, wrapping around the lead leg and getting the outside trip. Rose is very good at that takedown. She used it against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She used it against Zhang Wei Li. The 1-2 switch to southpaw, wrap around with the right leg, which is now your lead leg, around the lead leg of the opponent to get the takedown. Very, very solid technique with that. And sometimes she can wrap around the rear leg as well, but I believe it is the lead leg that Rose likes to set that takedown up with, as she switches from orthodox to southpaw and disguises the takedown attempt. Blanchfield, I feel like, can do the same thing against Jessica Andrade, but it's really the power of Andrade on the feet, inside the clinch, and the lack of defense that Erin Blanchfield has when it comes to the striking game. She's not a bad striker at all. Like, her jabs are pretty clean. Her movement's pretty clean. She throws decent combinations. I mean, stance switch, straight lefts, double jabs from southpaw, switch back, jab, left hook, right hand, the right hook over the lead jab of the orthodox fighter, the left hook over the lead jab of the southpaw fighter. Like, she has good striking. It's just the defensive holes that Erin Blanchfield has on the feet that worry me against such a big power puncher in Jessica Andrade. I counted her out against Amanda Lemos, and she finished her in the first round via arm triangle choke submission. Now, I do think that Andrade has so much power that if she gets a hold of the neck of Blanchfield, there is a possibility that Jessica Andrade can submit Erin Blanchfield, even though that's Blanchfield's wheelhouse. That's what Blanchfield wants to do, is get Andrade to the floor, take her down, suck the life out of her, get to the crucifix position like Valentina Shevchenko did. So we've seen that Jessica Andrade has holes in her game that play into the positions where Erin Blanchfield is the most effective, especially when it comes to the grappling. So if she gets into that crucifix position, man, I think Andrade is very strong, but I think Blanchfield is strong as well. But I think that's just a recipe for disaster. And I don't necessarily think we're going to see Andrade looking for takedowns. But if Blanchfield shoots a bad takedown, I could see her getting her neck caught and jumping into a guillotine. Andrade jumping into a guillotine on Blanchfield and potentially getting her out of there. But I do think that the striking, the power, the combinations that Andrade throws, her ability to slip and counter, she has very good slip counters. Like, she doesn't look the best technically on the feet. She doesn't look like she sets up anything. She kind of reminds me of a Francis Ngannou of the women's division and a Wanderlei Silva hybrid, because, Francis Ngannou is the type of person where he doesn't have to have the best technique, but he can knock you out. Now, his technique has gotten better. But if you look at the Jairzinho Rosenstrike fight, he countered the low kick and just windmilled punches until he caught Jairzinho on the chin and put him out. Now, Andrade has one punch knockout power, but a lot of the times it's, in barrages, it strikes to the body. And the thing is, she had some defensive holes in the fight against JJ Aldridge, getting kicked to the body a few times. I think if Andrade can slip and work to the body, she can take the cardio out of Blanchfield and put her out. I don't think that Blanchfield is a match for Andrade on the feet. And the longer she keeps the fight on the feet, the more that's going to play into Andrade's hands. And I know you're going to say, well, Andrade has been taken down. Andrade has been out grappled. There's a difference between Erin Blanchfield and Valentina Shevchenko and Raquel Pennington that was up a weight class. I do think that Raquel is a better wrestler, but I think that Erin Blanchfield has better jiu-jitsu and offensive grappling once the fight does hit the mat. So I think that Blanchfield is more dangerous than Pennington, but I don't think she has the, better wrestling to the point where she's going to get in on the hips of Andrade and take her down because of the strength that Andrade has at 125 pounds. Formerly at 135, which is where she got submitted at. That there's a difference, man. Raquel Pennington is a big 135er, so you have to take that into considerations as well when you're breaking down the fight. I do think it is a world of trouble if Andrade gets taken down, if she gets put in the crucifix, if Blanchfield gets the mount, if she gets the back of Andrade. I do think that Blanchfield is live for a submission. If you're looking to bet the side of Erin Blanchfield, I think you bet her to win by submission, and that's it, because I think that's how she gets it done, is Andrade giving up a position potentially in the crucifix, giving up her back, giving up her neck, and getting a submission. But the thing is, I don't think that it's going to be available for her before she's getting blasted in the face with multiple shots, a bunch of volume, big power from Jessica Andrade. And the defensive holes that Blanchfield has on the feet, that really worries me in this fight against a power puncher like Andrade. I know Andrade is taking the fight on short notice, so again, that's something you have to take into consideration when breaking down how this fight plays out. But Andrade is on a little bit of a roll right now, aside from that loss to Valentina Shevchenko, and I think she's going to continue to roll here. I think if you're going to play the side of Blanchfield, you play her to win by submission, but I think I'm going to have to side with the former strawweight champion, the former flyweight title challenger in the number 6 ranked Jessica Andrade to defeat Erin Blanchfield, handing her first loss inside the UFC via a TKO. I think eventually just the defensive holes of Blanchfield are going to get exposed. The combinations, the power of Andrade is going to be too much, and the more strikes she lands, I don't think Andrade or Blanchfield can take those punches for, the duration of a 5-round fight. I'm going to go with a late 3rd round TKO victory for Jessica Andrade. I think she's just eventually going to be too much. She's going to pressure forward. She's going to constantly be on the pressure. I think she will get taken down at one point, but Andrade will scramble out of it and get back up to the feet because of the strength she possesses coming down to 125 or going up to 125, but originally coming down from 35 to 115 and back up to 25. I think the power and the strength is going to be there for Andrade. She's one of the strongest women in MMA, and I think eventually she's just going to land those big shots, the right hook, the left hook, slip off the center line, right uppercut, left hook, slip inside, left hook, right hand, 1-2, right hook, straight left and southpaw, 1-2, left hook to the body, right uppercut to the body, a knee to the body, and she's going to just beat her up with volume, and she's going to drop her, and the ref's going to jump in. So my pick is Jessica Bate Estaca Andrade, the number 6 ranked flyweight, to defeat the number 10 ranked Erin Cold-Blooded Blanchfield, handing her first loss in the UFC via a 3rd round TKO victory. All right, guys, that's going to be it for my UFC Vegas 69 preview, predictions, and breakdown. This podcast will be available on YouTube, broken down into individual fight segments. Each fight we broke down today will be in their own individual video, fully edited and uploaded with some background music on my YouTube. You can check out my YouTube channel at Touch 'Em Up Podcast, the same as the name of the podcast, obviously. Leave me a review for the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can leave a review. Make sure to leave a review and tell everybody why the Touch 'Em Up Podcast is one of the best MMA podcasts in the world. You can find this podcast anywhere you can get your audio podcast and on YouTube, like I previously mentioned. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Stitcher, and many, many more. This has been my UFC Vegas 69 preview, predictions, and breakdown. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out. Enjoy the fights this weekend.